This is Charter Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here, and we are joined today by Kathryn Barger. She is a nominee for a seat on the Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles County. You came in first place in the primary. We congratulate you heartily. What went right?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I really give a lot of credit to my campaign. We ran a truly strong campaign, and as hard as it is to make it about ground in terms of the size of the district, we really strived to reach every corner of the 5th District.
And let's talk about every corner of that district, because it is a huge district geographically.
Yes.
I mean, the whole county's 10 million. Each district has 2 million in it, bigger than some states, but your particular district has the most geography by far.
By far. It is the largest, but understand the same population.
Right.
Each one's about 2.2 million.
Okay, thank you.
But geographically the largest, all the way Kern County,
right,
Ventura County, San Bernardino County, lines all surround the 5th District. And so for me it was important to get out there and really let people know who I am.
So what did they say to you when you got out there? What were their hopes, their fears, their dreams, their nightmares?
Well, for me it was good news, because having worked with Mike for the last 28 years.
Who's the incumbent right now? Mike Antonovich. He's termed out, and so you're seeking that seat?
Yeah, so I've worked with Mike, and I've been his chief of staff for the last 15 years. The good news is people were pleased with what they're getting in terms of service, and wanted to make sure that my commitment was as deep as the current supervisors, which it is.
But I must ask, you came in first place, about 30% of the vote. You ran against a sitting California state senator. You ran against a sitting Glendale city councilman. You ran against a sitting Los Angeles city councilman. You ran against some real heavyweights. And you came in first by a pretty wide margin. You doubled essentially second place.
Yes. Yes. I know. You know, for me, people that night were saying, what do you feel? And I guess I don't take anything for granted.
Well stated.
I ran like I was in last place the whole time. It was less about running against individuals. It was more about telling people who I am. And I think that formula worked, because I know that I'm tired of the attack in politics. So I wanted to sell myself, not tear my opponents down. And I think it resonated with the people.
So let's talk about a potential victory in November, which would bring you to the Board of Supervisors. One of the issues that will no doubt face you is the homeless crisis we are suffering throughout Los Angeles County. You know better than I that we are approaching 50,000 homeless in our county. We have become the homeless capital of America. And what's so unique about this homeless crisis is 50,000 are not living on Skid Row. They are everywhere. And when I say they, I don't mean to make it us, them, but the homeless are, and it's hard.
They're in the community.
They're in the community. They're in our communities.
Yes. All 88 cities.
Right.
It's a problem. And when I first started with Supervisor Antonovich, I handled health and welfare.
Right.
There was a concentration on Skid Row. Gone are those days. We've got homeless living in every corner of the county. This is not going to be solved by the county alone, nor should it be. We need to work with our 88 cities.
Right.
We need to work with our faith-based communities, with our nonprofits, and we need to do what we do well, and that's providing social services, welfare, job training, mental health.
Let's talk about the 88 cities, and if I can, I want to single out one of those cities, and that's Los Angeles. For so long, the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles were pointing fingers at each other over homelessness. It seems as if the two entities are coming together a bit and trying to solve this as a collective. Am I reading that correctly?
No, you're correct. I mean, there was a lawsuit that was filed many years ago. And as a result of that lawsuit, we formed a JPA, a Joint Powers Authority, which came up with a group called LASA, which is LA Homeless Services Authority, LASA. And we pool our money, and we put together programs to deal with the homeless, and throughout not just the city, but LA County as a whole. We've set aside our differences, and we recognize that we need to, as a group, put a plan forward, work with these cities throughout the district, throughout not only the 5th, but throughout the entire county, and come up with a solution.
The challenge, though, is in the end, we need dollars attached to provide either services, to provide temporary housing, to provide permanent housing, mental health. We know the state is going to have a bond on the ballot, $2 billion bond through Prop 63. There were discussions about a county measure, probably not going to happen, raising money specifically for homelessness. The city may look at it. When I say the city, Los Angeles. From where does this money derive?
Well, the Prop 63, the bond you're talking about, is coming from money that's already allocated through what they call the millionaire's tax that was passed many years ago.
Right.
This money that Supervisor Ridley Thomas was proposing to bring forward was another millionaire's tax that would be dedicated, a county tax that would be allocated only for the homeless services. You know, we've got to get the approval from the state legislature and from the state. I don't know where that's going. I don't know if that's going to happen. There are so many competing taxes that are going to be on the November ballot.
Yes, there are.
And
Prop 30 extension, another millionaire's tax.
Well, and there's also, you know, there's a tax, parcel tax being brought forward. For parks. So there's no doubt that we need to do something, and we need to prioritize. And when I say prioritize, there are things we could do better. And when you look at the mentally ill, for example, that are on the street, we're putting in urgent care centers, which means that if a police officer or law enforcement goes out and picks someone up and wants to, what they call 5150, which danger to self or others, hold, they would go to the emergency room, and then they'd wait for a bed and they'd be tied up. Now we are going to allow law enforcement to bring these individuals to urgent care centers where they can be dropped off. We've got mental health experts there, triage. If they need to find a bed, they find the bed.
I want to ask you about law enforcement. For so long, the relationship between the homeless and law enforcement was, for lack of a better word, adversarial. There is an effort to change that relationship. We know LAPD is adopting, I guess they're calling it compassion and empathy. Do you think that's part of the solution, that somehow we create a more respectful relationship?
Yes. Recognize that law enforcement has an obligation and a duty to uphold the law. Part of it is training. It's understanding that, you know, that the individuals on the street have serious issues, whether it be alcohol, drug, mental health, or they just really
they want to be there.
They want to be there.
And that begs the question, if I may. What if they just want to be there?
There's no law. I tell people there's no law against being homeless. There is no law against being homeless. But at the same time, if you're dealing with an individual that's severely mentally ill, we need to help them so that they can make a decision based on a healthy mind.
But what if they don't want the help? What if they use their words and they say, I don't want the help?
And that's where I struggle, and I tell people money alone is not going to solve this problem. I'm convinced, and I believe, and I've worked toward this with Supervisor Antonovich, we need to look at our mental health flaws. Because putting someone in a bed for 72 hours on a hold is not going to solve their issue. It takes a lot longer to diagnose and treat and stabilize. And so what we're doing is making it a revolving door, which gets back to the issue of, are we using our resources the best way possible? So it's not alone money. It's also about looking at existing laws and looking at how we, as a society, address the most vulnerable population. And so it's going to be a long-term coming, and I don't know that we'll ever solve the problem of homelessness. But when you look at the veterans on the street, those veterans,
there.
Well, and we have the numbers have gone down.
But
we need to provide housing for these individuals. Once we put that into play, the numbers started to go down.
Her name is Kathryn Barger. She is a nominee for a seat on the Board of Supervisors in LA County. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for joining us in Charter Local Edition.